want about it?
Are you phased about this new defending?
Okay.
Apparently.
Number 3, we don't know the land party. So.
Good afternoon. My name is Belan Ahadi. I'm from News 24. CIC, I just wanted to know, I've been in some of your consultations across the country. I just wanted to know if you think they've been fruitful. Have you been able to get what is it that you wanted from these particular consultations? Looking ahead into the manifesto. And the second question is, are you assuring your voters that the EFF leadership is united, looking at previous reports of divisions and also taking into consideration your then tweets on backstabbing and traitors? Thank you.
Number 4. Yes, ma'am.
So, I'm Tando from Power 987 News. Just a comment on the recent occurrences in Zimbabwe, starting from the fuel hike, and particularly South Africa's announcement that it is in discussions with the World Bank and other lenders that it will help Zimbabwe get out of Brexit.
5.
No. Oh, yeah. Is it okay. Alvin here again from ENCA. At the beginning of the year, there was a lot of discussion around your relationship, Mr. Malema as well as Mr. Floyd. How would you describe the relationship that you guys currently have? Mr. Malema, in the tweet that you once sent out in, I think it was the first week of Jan, you said that the EFF members should tighten the seatbelt. What were you referring to, and which betrayal, where did the betrayal come from that you were referring to? And then on the issue of Tswane, why is the EFF taking such a subtle posture when it comes to the city manager, Musola? Because there are accusations leveled against Musola, but the EFF is not coming out to take a stance on Musola's capacity to run the municipality. What does the EFF believe that Musola is running the municipality as it is supposed to be run, as the manager of that municipality?
That was number 5. Okay, it's the lady in the camera, President.
Oh, sure.
Hi, CIC. I'm Zama from AFP. I wanted to touch on the Patrick Karegeya case and how former Chief of Intelligence of Rwanda, the Randburg Magistrates Court declined the inquest because the South African investigators and the police have been delaying prosecuting the suspects for 5 years. I just wanted you to share your views on what you think that is knowing that the suspects are known and possibly linked to the Rwandan government.
Thank you, President. That's all.
Well, thank you very much. With regard to the Rwandan case, which at some point our relationship with South Africa affected somehow with Rwanda, we have been closely monitoring the case, and we were actually excited when we saw it coming before the courts after such a long time. Because for us, every element of criminality must be punishable, particularly if that crime is committed within our own country. The South African law enforcement is supposed to act. And when it involves such high-profile people, you ought to put proper qualified individuals who will not compromise the investigations. Sometimes we are too hard on the presiding officers, be it the judges or magistrates, but not much work has been done to ensure that we get quality when it comes to investigation, not to compromise the entire case. It's an interesting case that we are actually assigning some people to pay a closer attention to it and see what role can we play to help, particularly the family of the deceased, because here it looks like we're fighting the powerful. If the Rwandan government is involved, the family, surely it can't defeat a state. It will need some form of support. But also that the Rwandan government has sent people into our country If that is also true, it's a problem for us because it undermines the sovereignty of our country, it undermines the security of South Africa, and therefore it's not just a small matter that can be left unattended to. We'll indeed come closer to the space and see what role can we play to make sure that justice is served. Tshwane you know, the only crime the MM of Tshwane committed is when he exposed unqualified white people in that municipality. Yes, yes. You don't do that. Lily and I must never take a chance at work. When you see an unqualified white person, write anonymous letter or something. Don't bring your face. You know who you must ask if you doubt. Ask the EFF. The question then is yeah, yes. All white people came together in defense of state including the professors. What's wrong with metric? That's a white person again. Malema would work. Would work. All white people joined by black people of 702. They went on attack. When it's white, they close ranks. Remember that. You doubt it as EFF with regard to stainism. You will know what is whiteness and the benefits of whiteness. Musola committed a crime. He exposed an unqualified white person. They went for it. We had a meeting with the DA leadership, and we outlined the process on how the tenders get to work. So they say this guy is involved in a scandal of, what is that company? Black Africa, right? We say no, but tenders of this magnitude, they go to a committee called MEICO. And MEICO is chaired by the mayor. If this guy must go, the mayor must also go. So the mayor is gone, but the mayor is not gone on the account of the Black Africa scandal. The DA must take responsibility. If there is corruption in the scandal, the DA must take responsibility. Because that guy is not just a mayor, he's the executive mayor. When he says no, it stops. When he says yes, it goes. So now when it favors the DA, they say no, go after the MM. They go after the city manager because the city manager exposed white and qualified. The white caucus since that day was never able with that guy. They tried everything on him. And I'm not going to be party to some agenda which seeks to discredit a person who exposed unqualified person who was earning the money, millions in that municipality. Till today, I'm told that person is not fired formally. There's still on some leave or some suspension or something like that. Imagine if it was a black person who was on some special arrangement, still earning money, what was going to happen? That's Musola's crime, to expose unqualified white person. If you doubt that, ask the EFF about stainism. They will teach you lesson white. You touch one of their own. Yes, yes. You will never see the light of the day. Now, Zimbabwe, we agree. Actually, South Africa must contribute towards the bailout of Zimbabwe. Anyone who refuses that is dumb.
Yeah.
Because if you don't help Zimbabweans, the border is going to be flooded by them. And anyone who's going to block them from coming to South Africa, we're going to fight with that person. So you are always complaining, hey, the Zimbabweans here, hey, there. The only way not to help them is by helping them in their own country. Zimbabwe must be helped. SADC countries, we need to come together, we need to close ranks. We must give conditional grant to the Zimbabweans. And it must be grant that is dedicated to developmental programs which will help Zimbabwe to stand on its own. A weaker Zimbabwe leads to a weaker SADC region. We need Zimbabwe. Even if we don't have money, those who know English will translate it. So the little we have as Africans, we need to share and stop being greedy. Otherwise, we're setting this Zimbabwe up for IMF and World Bank bailouts, and you know what happens. Or we're setting them up for the Chinese, who are now gradually proving to be extremely hostile, where they even take now assets of countries which are unable to pay them back. Let's not put Zimbabwe under such a situation. We are Zimbabwe, Zimbabweans are us. We're one thing. Their problems is our problem. Every time when you enjoy food here, you say, look after your neighbors. Hey, make sure your neighbors are all well off. Hey, but here is our neighbor, is suffering. Who are you to say we must not help our neighbor? If we really care about ourselves as Africans, we're becoming a laughing stock all over the world, because one of our own is swimming in a pool of debt and we're unable to provide them a conditional grant which must not end up in the hands of ZANU-PF politicians.
Yes.
Some nonsense wrote me an email and said, yeah, we ZANU-PF, we support you. You don't understand what's happening here. And now you are saying these things you are saying about the soldiers. I said, I don't care whether ZANU-PF support me or not. I don't care about ZANU-PF. What is ZANU-PF? ZANU-PF is ANC. Same thing, I don't care about ZANU-PF. I'm not married to ZANU-PF. I have no relationship with ZANU-PF, none whatsoever. I care about the people of Zimbabwe. Anyone who unleashes soldiers on innocent and armed people, you have declared those people the enemy of the state. You are a fool. You don't deserve my respect. If I allow it to happen in Zimbabwe, it will happen here in South Africa. It's unacceptable. Whether it's done by Mnangagwa, whether it's done by Mugabe, it's unacceptable. Mnangagwa must know that. It's unacceptable to beat up people, to break cell phones of people, to shut down internet. It's unacceptable. It's barbaric. In 2019, you've got a leader that shut down internet and shut down social media. That's so backward. It's unacceptable. Mnangagwa must know that. We're not happy with that development. We want to help Zimbabwe. We want the sanctions gone. We want a bailout for Zimbabwe. But we're not going to support the tyranny, the brutalization of our people. That will never happen. We had too much hope in the new Zimbabwe. We're so happy for our people in Zimbabwe. But what we saw in the past few days is scary. Scary. So Mnangagwa must know that we don't just support people here. Allow the people to have the right to protest. You increase petrol, they must march. You do all types of things they are not accepting, they must march. It is their right. Mnangagwa must be very careful of that Chiwenga. Is it Chiwenga? The deputy president. That military style of leadership, if it's advocated for by Chiwenga, who is a former army general, and want to convert Zimbabwe into a dictatorship, he must know he doesn't have a friend in us. We are no friends with dictators. We don't want that at all. We want good for the Zimbabweans. The EFF manifesto is a product of consultations with our people. All important elements that were raised by our people are captured in that manifesto. In writing and drafting that manifesto, we've had to go back and replay the videos and listen again once more to what people have said in those consultations. And they are going to be very happy to see their voices well captured and represented in the manifesto. Many of them, they will even think they are the ones who have written that manifesto, because they will just see themselves in the manifesto of the EFF. It speaks to the demands, the issues of the people. It locates where problems are and provides an immediate solution. The EFF manifesto does not have a 30-year solution. The longest is 3 years. We want to do it when we're still in government and go. We don't want to set plans that are unrealistic and we know we can't achieve them. We just say them for the sake of saying them. A completely different from the rest of other political party manifestos. It's not promises, it's commitment. It's a specific place, a specific project, a specific target date, so that people can hold us to it. Not job opportunities, not those type of things, specific program. This is so many jobs which can be created in this area by creating this. That's what we're dealing with when we present our manifesto. A breakaway, I think we must redefine, and Vox, is it Vox?
Daily Fox.
Daily Vox writes mainly about university issues. And therefore you'll expect it to actually understand the phrases and concepts much better. Breakaway. So you said it's the second breakaway from the BLF, right? From the EFF. Yeah, but BLF was the first breakaway according to Daily Fox of universities, right? How do you break away when you are no longer a member? Because COPE was a breakaway. It was formed by ANC members who were inside, who broke away. So Mketamo was not an EFF member when he formed PLF. We are not a breakaway of the ANC. We were not members of the ANC when we formed the EFF. Therefore, we can't be a breakaway. Politics 101. So we can't be a breakaway, as it were. So there's no breakaway from our members. I wouldn't talk about Land Party, I don't know it. So I don't know whether they are members or they are not members, where are they located. I don't know them. I've not heard of such a thing. The DA has been insulting us big time. Firstly, it called us VBS looters. You know, we're not partners, by the way, again, Daily Fox. Partners also gets to be defined differently. So, we're not partners. The people makes it possible for you to have power. You must have some decency when you deal with them. Like, can we have a meeting with the EFF to understand where does this VBS thing come from, so that when we take a position, we understand each other. No, they just call us names and insult us like that. Yet, we vote for them in municipalities. They say stop ANC and ANC and EFF. But there's no ANC and EFF. If anything, for someone who's confused, they must say DA-EFF. Because again, we're giving them votes. That confusion would be justifiable. ANC, EFF, what now? And then after putting those posters, they are going to come to us and say, let's vote together in Tshwane municipality. After insulting us like that, and then you South Africans will be saying, no, the EFF must vote with the DA, otherwise they are bringing ANC through a back door. Hey, Vonyofo. Wait, man. We can't be insulted like that, and then we don't act on people who have just taken a posture. You know what DA did? Paid for SMS to send around telling people that EFF looted VBS money. Those are the people you must go and vote with. They did an automatic telephone voice. When you answer, do you know that EFF stole VBS money? DA did that. And then they said, so Simang is going to be a premier. Where? With whose help? How? Sis. You know the arrogance of white people. They just think that because they are white, we will just vote for them. We don't have any option, woman. Even if you remain inferior to them, it doesn't matter how good you do to them. That's DA's attitude towards the EFF. But no problem. Because there's going to be problems. They must know that. We have a problem with NSFAS. We received a lot of cases. NSFAS is rejecting students, some of them who qualified last year. No proof has been provided that the parents of those kids have received or got a job. Yet they are still they are being rejected. So we want to warn NSFAS and the universities to admit every deserving student, particularly the students who are poor. Otherwise, the EFF student command is combat ready. We are not going to allow any deserving student to be turned away through lies that are told by NSFAS that your parents are earning so much, your parents are working. Even when affidavits are provided, certified affidavits and all those type of things, still NSFAS is trying to reduce the number of students on their list through crooked means. The ANC said it's going to give people free education. We want it. They committed it. Now the students must see what the ANC is for. They just talk, no action. Zuma declared free education. ANC agreed with Zuma. First year they provided. Now the numbers have increased because they must pay for the second years and the first years. Now they want to remove the number of students through illegal means. We're not going to agree with that. Universities, be warned, we're not going to agree with that. All deserving students walk into the universities. Go and register. As long as your parents are not working, as long as you are poor, as long as you passed with flying colors and you are qualifying to be in the university has accepted you, they can't exclude you on the basis of money. Be ready, South African students. It looks like there will be action very soon. We're not going to allow the turning away of any student by this kleptocratic government of the ANC, which spends money on politicians and destroys the poor. Malusi Gigaba is not only Malusi Gigaba on the list. Nongula is there, up there. Gweda is up there. Mapisa Ngakula is up there. Batabile is up there. Every crook we can think of is up there. And then Stratcom and Ramaphosa Defense Force will say, a new door. A new door. A new dawn with a list led by crooks. Imagine it in your mouth. Leave him alone. There are so many others on that list. Crooks who are on the list. Crooks. Some of them, public protectors just found them to be guilty of receiving corruptions and bribes and all that. They are on the list. But worse is that none of them is before the so-called integrity committee. We were told, hey, there's integrity committee, New Dawn is fighting corruption. Why are these crooks not before the integrity committee? But lastly, when people were mentioned in the VBS report, they were told to resign. Why are the Usasa mentioned not told to resign? Because the VBS, there was no criminal case, there was no disciplinary hearing. People in the ANC were mentioned in VBS were told to resign. Why is Usasa mentioned people not told to resign? It's because the president of the New Dawn is mentioned. There are laws for these ones and laws for those ones. That's your state of politics in South Africa. You have to wake up. We must not allow SANEF, must not allow Ramaphosa Defense Force, must not allow Stratcom to create rules for others and rules for other people. We must all be subjected to the same rules. If the requirement is such that if you are mentioned, you don't qualify to stand They must all step down, including the president, because it's mentioned in Busasa. Let there be consistency. Let Beachvest go to State of Capture Commission. Let Investec, which Pravin has got an office in, go to State Capture Commission. There is a long list of people and companies that are dominating South Africa's economy, which are giving politicians bribes, and they are not before the State Capture Commission. You know why? Because they are white. It's white companies. Once they are white companies, they are allowed to dominate. I see these fools line up in there calling themselves black business people are line up in dinners of the ANC, donating monies for the ANC, when the ANC criminalizes every black person who's got a tender. Yet white companies are not criminalized. Anyone, if you go and get a tender from a dominant company and you are a black person, you got it through corruption, according to Ramaphosa ANC, which is sympathetic to the white business, controlled by white business. Black people who claim to have money, they are still lined up in there. All of them have been painted corrupt. Any business person, let's take the Fleet Company in Johannesburg. It got a tender from Avis. No, it's corrupt, it's linked to EFFa. But if that tender is received by Avis, it's a white company, there's no problem. That's how it works here in South Africa under Cyril Ramaphosa. Every black business person must wake up now. You get a tender under Cyril's government, you are corrupt because Daily Maverick, Scorpio will paint you corrupt. They work with him, by the way, because they work with Pravin. Pravin has called for funding of Scorpio and Daily Maverick. They work with Ramaphosa. Any black person who gets a tender away from a white person, you are corrupt, according to the definition of Cyril and Pravin's government. So we need to deal with that. Now, the last one. I tweet, you know that Twitter account? It's mine. I control it myself. Eh?